All right, we're welcoming back to In the SAC, second-time guest, Corri Fetman. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Now, you have a little thing you're going to be telling us about is your new 48-hour divorce. We're really excited to learn about that. I'm sure there's a lot of people getting divorces who would like to get divorced that quickly.
Absolutely.
Want to give us a little bit more information about your background in case some people have not heard the show yet?
They need to listen to your show.
They should listen. It's very informative.
Sure. I'm an attorney. I mostly practice in matrimonial law, but I also do other things. I also practice in other areas of law. I had a billboard back in 2007 that went viral overnight with a tagline, "Life's short, get a divorce." And then from there, did a lot of media from it, and also landed an advice column in Playboy and posed for Playboy back in 2008.
Amazing.
And then from there, had been working on several different projects, such as writing a book, which is with an agent right now. It's called From the Bedroom to the Courtroom, Advice from the Love Lawyer, and waiting on that, and some other projects as well.
I'm excited about that book, actually.
It will get out there, come hell or come high water, okay?
I'm coming to the launch.
You better.
Before we go on about your new thing, we want to talk about how big is divorce in this country today?
The statistics out there keep changing. I just read something, actually. I looked it up not too long ago, and I saw it on the internet. It said that divorce rates were down, and that the divorce rates were down about, they usually say it's about 50-50. Now they say that it's about 30%.
Do you think that's because of people's finances now? There's not enough money for it?
Yeah, I think that's why my concept, part of the reason why I came up with this concept is because of the economy and because of the fact that people are staying together in unhappy marriages because they can't afford to get a divorce. In fact, they just had something on 2020 about it too. About how people are staying together because they can't afford to get a divorce. Yeah. So I think this is timely, the business concept that I came up with.
Oh, I think it's great.
I hope it is.
Tell us how you came up with it and the reason you created it for people.
Well, essentially, I've been practicing for a long time, and I've seen, a lot of different patterns over the years, and especially recently, with the downturn of the economy, a lot of people are staying together in unhappy marriages. Mm-hmm. The length of the divorce process is just never ending. People are always complaining about that. The amount of money that people are spending, they're spending their whole retirement funds, they're spending their savings when they go through a divorce. Yep. And I think a lot of times they do so, and it's unknowingly. They don't realize that when they're getting in and they start fighting, that it's going to take a while for them to get through the process, especially if they're litigious, and that they're going to have to spend a lot of money. And I think, once they get in, they don't know what to do, how to get out of it. And then once the process goes on and it keeps going on, then families are being pulled apart. Children are getting damaged, because the longer the case goes on, the more you're going to have hurt feelings, you're going to have scars, and people are going to be, creating more and more conflict. So based on all these factors, I wanted to come up with something to give people an option and to help them eradicate all of these factors. So I devised this system that would help people negotiate their own case and will allow them to move on with their life and save substantial amounts of money. The sooner people can move on, the sooner they can heal.
Right, and who wants to prolong anything like that? Now, for our listeners, how could they, how does the divorce process work, the new 48-hour concept?
So there's two options under the 48-hour divorce system.
Okay.
The first option is to mediate your case. And I would be acting as the mediator. In mediation, I'm not acting as an attorney. I'm acting as a mediator, which means I'm facilitating conversations between the couples that gets them to the point where they can negotiate and reach a compromise or come up with a solution. Mm-hmm. And mediation does work. I mean, I've done it before. I've done it in the 48-hour period, and depending on how many issues people have, it can take less than 48 hours to do so. But it does work. But in that process, at the end of the 48 hours, if we reach an agreement, then as a mediator, I would draft up a mediation agreement.
Yep.
And then that goes to the attorney, and the attorney will draft up what's called a settlement agreement for the parties, and then they proceed to court and get divorced.
I'm sure a lot of people would like that.
Is what's called cooperative divorce.
Okay.
And what that is two attorneys with the parties sitting down during that 48-hour period of time and negotiating.
Okay.
And working through all of the issues, reaching a compromise. Even if the good thing about this 48-hour divorce is, let's say for purposes of argument, you have 10 issues.
Mm-hmm.
If you reach an agreement on 8 of the 10 issues, you still have saved yourself substantial time and money.
Right.
And you can go forward with those other 2 issues, go to court, have a judge, you can have a judge do a pretrial and try to give a recommendation, or you can just litigate those 2 issues. It's still not going to cost you the same amount of time and money as if you were if you were going through the court process on those other 8 issues.
Right. Which would make life easier for everybody, especially if they just know what they want and get out of it.
And a lot of times people don't, when people are in a marriage, when they're talking to each other, they're talking at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're saying the same thing, and they don't even know they're saying the same thing. I've had it happen in a ton of cases where people will come in and they think they have a conflict on an issue, and they're actually saying the same thing.
But in a different way, and nobody's listening. They'll probably stop listening at some point anyway.
Oh, yeah, they're tuning each other out for sure.
Definitely.
Sounds like you know about this, Sarah.
Well, I've had so many friends who have been getting divorced, and, especially they're about 10 years older, and I think they would have loved something like this back then, back when I was like 25. I watched all these women and, I feel that some people jump into marriage too soon. That's just my opinion, like in their 20s, early 20s, and they're already getting divorced by the time they're 30. Wouldn't you agree with that? Do you see that a lot? That's kind of something I notice.
Yeah, I think people are getting married actually later now.
Later
in life. Not back then, but the trend is I think people are getting married later.
Right.
But I still, especially on second and third marriages, I see people jumping into marriage right after getting out of another relationship.
Yeah.
And they just, especially men, seems like men, want to be in a relationship right away after they've gone through.
Well, kind of going back to having somebody take care of them, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
stability.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They have certain needs.
Right.
So I've seen a lot of that also, but most, on the second and third marriages. But I think people are getting married later in life.
Oh, I definitely agree. I think you should stay single till you meet somebody perfect. Otherwise, just have fun. That's some advice from Dr. Sarah this week.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. In the SAC with Dr. Sarah.
So when people are getting divorced, it's not always, I would say, we spoke to Ashley Madison CEO Noel Biederman a couple months ago, and divorce not always because somebody's being...
You mean the people who stole my tagline, Life's Short?
Did they? I was wondering, because I was like, wow, that's very similar. I didn't want to ask.
They did it right after I came out with it.
Really?
And, I threatened to sue them, actually.
Oh, well, you're a trendsetter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we won't talk about them, but their infidelity. No, I know. But the infidelity, I don't think it's always people cheating all the time. What do you think other reasons are that people end up getting divorced?
I think communication, lack of communication.
Mm-hmm.
I think lack of sex is huge.
Yep.
For real. And then money problems.
Yeah, money problems. Definitely
money problems for sure.
Yep. They need to pay attention to this show because we can teach them how to have a better sex life.
Absolutely.
You're
the queen.
I'm trying. Oh, God. Now, have you ever seen people that are starting to get a divorce and, change their mind last minute? Does that ever occur?
I have a great story.
Oh, good.
if you want to hear it.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Okay, so I represented this woman who was going through a divorce, and she one day got in a fight with her husband. They had a very passionate relationship.
Okay.
So she got in a fight with her husband, and she took all of his clothes, shredded them, and then threw them in their pool. They had an outdoor pool. So
this didn't look crazy or anything. Imagine if you were watching it from next door. Oh my God.
I know.
I'd feel like
there was no videos, thank God.
I know.
He had photos, but he didn't have videos. So he brought an order of protection. They had children, and so he brought an order of protection to throw her out of the house. And we started this, it was just unbelievably adversarial order of protection hearing about her throwing the clothes in the pool and everything that transpired. So we started this trial, and it was going on for 3 days, and then it got continued to the next week. So the next week, I come to court, and I'm waiting, and the opposing counsel's waiting, and the clients don't show up.
Okay.
The two parties, the ones that are the one that
now you're like, is someone dead?
So we were waiting an hour, and the judge is like, can somebody call these clients and find out where they are? So we call, and we're getting, voicemails. We're not getting a hold of them. So finally, maybe an hour, we were waiting. Another hour later, the husband, I represent the wife, the husband called his attorney and said that they were at home in bed reconciling.
Oh, my God.
So, yes, they got back together.
Yeah. Even though they had that sporadic moment, she must have been really mad.
Exactly. And they must have had great makeup sex.
They probably did.
Absolutely.
They made that up.
Exactly.
They made up for it. Do you think handling divorce now is different than it was before? Like you said, the financials and everything like that. Like with Facebook and everything, people are keeping tabs on each other now and, reuniting with past loves. Are you finding that a lot too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And social media has totally changed. People are cheating more. Because of social media, because you can look up your old flame.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to cheat online. It's easier, especially for someone that likes to go on the internet and look at women and then make comments. And I know,
creep around
to you as well. And they feel very uninhibited because they can, they're on the internet and they can make whatever comments they want, and then they can hook up with people.
Right.
Look at Tinder.
I know.
Tinder's a perfect example of a hookup generation.
Yeah.
I also think that handling divorce work is much more litigious now than it used to be.
Okay.
I don't know why the trend is, but it just seems like it's a lot more litigious. Even though people don't have the money to actually fight, they're starting out by being extremely litigious, and then they, find out that it's extremely expensive and it's not worth it to go down that route. But as I said before, once they've already started down that route, I don't think they know how to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think the internet's changed everything.
I absolutely agree with you.
Dating, my world.
In a bad way for, in the realm of divorce world. It's good for me, though, because then I can track, things and use them as evidence.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
That's like detective work. I kind of like that. I'm very good at figuring things out on the internet. So if you ever need a spy, I'm good at it.
I may take you up on that, but I'm actually pretty good myself.
I'm sure. I feel that we might be similar.
I've nailed a ton of people. Trust me.
Well, if I ever get married and need a divorce, I know who I'm going to.
No, you'll have a prenup.
Yeah. Definitely.
I will draft your prenup.
All right, good. We're going to have one for me, I think.
Ironclad.
So what advice would you offer to people who might be thinking about getting a divorce, and how they can contact you, and maybe what it might cost to do something such as this, if you wanted to mention that?
I can't really talk about the cost.
Okay. Yep.
Air, only because every case is different.
Okay. So it's individual.
For example, if someone has children, it's going to be different than if they don't have children.
Yep.
So and if they're mediating, it's different if they're doing the cooperative divorce, because there's different things that are involved.
Right.
Which would take me a while to explain, and I'm sure you don't want to use up your airtime. But with respect to advice, I think people need to treat, even though it's extremely emotional, and I understand it's extremely emotional because I've been through a divorce myself, you need to treat it like a business transaction, which means that you have to be reasonable, and you're better off settling your own case and crafting the terms of your settlement yourself than leaving it to a judge who may not care that you want to pick up your child at 5 o'clock on Thursday.
Right.
They certainly don't have that much time to draft up a judgment, and they don't have that much time when they're hearing trials. It's just, the nature of the overcrowding of the docket. Nothing to do with the judges. They work very, very hard.
Right.
But it's impossible for them to know every nuance that's involved in somebody's life.
Right.
So you are much better off settling your case. It's going to be cheaper in the long run, and it'll allow you to move on with your life and start Chapter 2 or Chapter 3.
Yeah. Like here in Massachusetts, I think they have to wait 90 days before they can officially call it a divorce. That's 3 months of torture, I think.
That's a long time.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is here. Yeah.
You mean before they enter the judgment?
Yeah. They have to wait 90 days.
That's not, I don't know that I like that, only because I think when, this is another reason why why I came up with the 48-hour divorce.
Yeah.
Is I wanted people not to go out there and then start listening to their friends, because what happens is you come up, let's say we reach a resolution after the 48 hours, and again, this is a resolution on, you've negotiated it.
Right.
And so we still have to draft up the paperwork and then get you divorced.
Right.
I don't want people going out there and then what I call the beauty shop talk. They go to the salon and they talk to the owner of the salon or somebody that's in there, and they're like, oh, you know what, you're getting screwed. And they don't really know what the situation is.
The useless input.
You've heard it before.
Right. Yeah.
And so now they start getting all this negative advice, and they come back and they change their mind. The first offer and the first deal is usually your best.
Right.
And it's in your best interest to go with it, not look back, and just move forward.
Never look back.
Right.
Right? That's my motto.
That's why I don't like the 90 days, because then that gives you too much time to think about it.
You have too much time to think about it. You get other people's input, and sometimes maybe that's kind of stuff you want to keep private to yourself, because sometimes when, even with small decisions with me and I get too many, ideas going, I'm like, I can't deal with this anymore, No, you gotta go with your instinct.
Nobody's living your life.
Right.
They don't know what you're going through.
Right. They don't know.
It's hard, I don't like when people give advice and it's not, something that's solicited.
Right. It's just their opinion.
You have to make up your own decision and just move forward and not look back.
Exactly. Before we sign off, do you want to tell us about any other projects you're working on besides the 48-hour divorce?
Oh, wait. You wanted to know where people can reach me?
I want to know where they can reach you. And
you had asked me that previously. The website is 48hourdivorce.com.
Okay.
And all my contact information is on there.
Okay. Well, that's great. All right. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. There you go. There's 48hourdivorce.com. Hit that up if you're looking for a divorce. And as always, Corri, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Stay warm.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.